Bret Hohenberger, and I'm from Denton, Texas. And we're here today, obviously in support of House Bill 453, but Mr. White has also proposed an enforcement bill titled House Bill 3883. And it's a very important bill because even if you have 50-50 custody, if the court orders are not enforced, it absolutely does you no good. I myself, I went through a pretty strange event about 2014. 15 in May is when it started. My sons were abducted by their non-custodial mother. She took them into hiding for 10 months. I battled with state and federal law enforcement agencies. I could get no help from anyone. I went into 3 different police departments over 11 times. Was told my kids didn't even meet the requirements for a missing person. Single dad life. You can stay right here, buddy. Stand with me. And this is Colton here. This is my youngest one, and I have a 5-year-old as well. But what ended up happening was we proceeded into custody court. I was granted custody. She didn't like the ruling, so during one of her supervised visitations, she took the kids and she fled to Arkansas. I went through 7 attorneys, thousands of dollars, multiple private investigators, and it took me 7 months just to report my children as missing. Even though multiple federal acts require that law enforcement do in fact file a child as missing within 2 hours of the initial report, I was denied that over and over and over again. I was told they didn't meet the requirements, it's only a civil matter, call your attorney, call the judge. Basically, after several months of frustration and getting nowhere, I started digging into the laws myself. I wanted to understand what I was being told and if it was actually truthful. And I quickly learned that I was being lied to. I was being deceived by both my local police and by the federal police, the FBI. I ended up finding Stephen. He had a pretty incredible story that had happened a few years before mine, and I found his story on a newscast. And I found Stephen's story on a newscast. Where's Paul? Come grab it for me. You go over the wall.
I want Daddy. I want Daddy. I want Daddy. I want
Anyways, I started digging in the laws, and as I said, I found out that I was being lied to, not just untruth, just flat out lied to. And it was very frustrating, as you can imagine, not knowing where your children are, as many of you have experienced, just being separated. It's a feeling unlike any other you could ever imagine. And most people can't even relate to that unless they've experienced themselves. And my heart goes out to each of you here that are suffering because of the injustices of this family court. My case started, my ex actually went down and she got a protective order against me, and that's how she initially took the kids. I literally watched law enforcement come and take my children from me and load them in a car with her, and that was the last time I would see them for 315 days. The very same law enforcement officers would not even take a report, wouldn't write my name down, wouldn't write my children's name down, nothing like that. I started reaching out to other agencies, National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, Texas Publishers Clearinghouse, among some, and started asking questions, well, if the law says this, why are we not following it? What's the problem here? And several of those agencies were actually willing to call the local police department personally for me, and they spoke to the officers and explained what the actual legalities are of interference with child custody and actual missing persons and family abductions, and I still didn't get much help. Finally, 7 months after they were taken, I started talking to local media outlets, and they became interested in my story and what was going on. They were really intrigued by the fact that I had custody, yet I couldn't enforce it. And it was about December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. The media broke the story, and as soon as that happened, the cops scrambled and they went down and they got a warrant. And my ex actually had 2 felony warrants for interference in child custody. Well, me being, unaware of the legalities of the situation and how these were treated, I immediately had a major relief. It was a huge success for me after fighting with them for 7 months and receiving absolutely no help. Just those warrants and missing persons reports, I knew someone was at least looking for my children, because the whole time I felt alone. It's a very discouraging feeling when you walk into the law enforcement or police department and you ask them for help because your children are in danger, and they look at you like you've lost your mind because you say your kids have been kidnapped. Well, I found out shortly after the warrants and the missing persons reports were filed that they weren't really investigating. They weren't really doing much at all. That was just kind of their way of getting me to go away, because I gotta tell you, I became a real pain in the butt to them. I had no problem going in there 2-3 times a day and eating Cheetos in their lobby until they'd send somebody out to talk to me. That's the level of tenacity that you have to have when you're willing to fight for your children. So I ended up, as I said, I found Stephen's case, and Stephen had a remarkable story, and we kind of share a unique bond. A private investigator out of California by the name of Logan Clark, I found Stephen's story, and through that I found Logan. And I contacted Logan, and he's in LA, told him a little about what was going on, and he's a world-renowned private investigator. He spent decades searching for missing children all around the world. And he's semi-retired. He tries not to do very many family abduction cases anymore, but he agreed to help me. And it was a huge relief for me to have someone with his stature in this field to actually be looking for my children. And it took him a few weeks, but he actually located my kids for me in Arkansas. And I found out where they were living, where their mom worked, what her work schedule was. I mean, just all these little details. And so he put a team, and we monitored her. Well, as soon as I found out her location, I contacted my local district attorney's office. Now remember, she had felony warrants. So I'm thinking I can call the DA, tell the DA that, I know where she is, and they'll order the cops in that state to just go arrest her. Well, what I found out was those warrants were in-state only. So they were not even enforceable in Arkansas or any other state except for the state of Texas, which did absolutely nothing to me. I could have used the civil courts in the state of Texas in any county to recover my children under a writ of habeas corpus. So I had to, literally, I knew where my kids were for 5 days. I had to hire another attorney in Arkansas, spend $5,000 more, and wait, 5 more days before I could actually even go and pick up my kids. That was probably the most infuriating part of the entire scenario. After coming so close and going through so much, to just, at the swipe of a pen, they could have ended it all for me like that. And just to put the ball back at my court and force me to have to come up with the resources to get my kids home. We started out with House Bill 3883, which some of you may not know of. It was an enforcement bill that James White filed on Friday. And the real intentions behind House Bill 3883, there's 2 sides to it. The first one is for parents that are being denied visitation. Whether that's 1 weekend, 5 weekends, or 6 months worth, House Bill 3883 allows you to go down and file a motion in the court, and that judge shall rule within 14 days whether that parent has violated the orders. And they could be held in contempt and even jailed, fined or jailed. The second part to House Bill 3883 is to enforce the orders for situations like mine, and you'll hear Stephen's story in here in just a second, where family abductions are occurring and law enforcement is not stepping in and helping any at all to these parents that are put in this situation. And there's been a significant amount of data collected by the FBI on this subject. It is a growing epidemic across the United States. There's numerous federal acts in place right now to prevent parents from taking a child from one state to the other just to obtain custody. One of those is the UCCJEA, which is the Universal Child Custody Jurisdiction Enforcement Act, and that is the procedure that I use to recover my children out of state. I wanted to share a couple of these statistics with you that I found from an article that was written by the FBI in 2013, and they did a criminal profile on people who commit family abduction and who is most likely to commit it. This article was written by Ashley J. Douglas, and the information was provided by Miss Douglas, and she serves as a intelligence analysis in the FBI's criminal investigation. She went on to say that the prompt reporting of a kidnapping by the custodial parent to officers and the timeliness of a law enforcement personnel in responding to a child abduction by a non-custodial parent proved crucial. An analysis of the FBI child abduction investigation in the past 3 fiscal years indicated that custodial motivated abductions have increased from 9% in 2010 to 50% in 2012. During these abductions, the children were taken against the custodial parent's will by the non-custodial parent to retaliate against their ex-companions. When a custodial motivated child abduction is reported to law enforcement, the child should be considered to be in danger, especially in cases involving parents who have previously threatened to abduct or harm the child or have a mental illness or disability. It is the timely response of law enforcement, rarely the willingness of the parent to return the child, which results in the recovery. She goes on to say that the FBI analysis conducted concludes that children of 3 years old and under are at the most risk or vulnerability due to the fact that they can easily be transported. Recent research shows that 40 to 50% of marriages in the United States end in divorce, and that there will be a 46% increase in children born to unwed parents. While the majority of co-parents work toward a positive arrangement for custody of their children, this increase may lead to corresponding increase in custodial motivated abductions. A non-custodial parent who continues to make threats against their children or murder the youth will remain. A non-custodial parent who continues to make threats, as non-custodial parents continue to make threats against their children or murder them, youth will remain at risk. Sorry for the mess. Well, my point in that is that this high conflict divorce that we've all experienced, majority of us, it is the driving force behind why people kidnap their children and take them. It is the sole purpose. Majority of these parents, when they take the children, it is out of spite to hurt the other parent. It has nothing to do with what is best for the child or keeping the child safe and providing them the best life possible. And that's why I believe that these two bills are really coinciding. If parents know that when they walk into a courtroom that the best they're going to get is 50-50 and that the other parent has equal rights to the child, well, they're a lot less likely to be incentivized to take the child and run to another state, something to that effect. And so that's why, again, I support both House Bill 453 and 3883, and I think they're going to be something that's very important for each of us in this room as well as for future generations. I'm here today because the system, it cost me a lot. It cost me a year of my children's lives, financially ruined me. I mean, I've spent near $100,000 just to get my children home. And, you know, in the end, I'm fortunate. I'm one of the lucky few, as well as Stephen. Millions of people go through what I have, and they search for years, and they never have that reconnection with their children, or if they do, it's been such a prolonged amount of time that the damage is done to the relationship. And, you know, as I said, I'm here today because I want to make sure that my kids can never face this. I want to make sure that they can never be put in the situation that I was or that any of you in this room have been put in. It's wrong on any moral compass, and for any organization to stand up and try to go against the child having equal access to both parents, it's just asinine to me. It makes no common sense whatsoever. There's no moral argument in any way, shape, or form that the mother is a better caretaker or that the father is a better caretaker. Children deserve both parents. More than anything, that it is the vital role in a child's life. And as the old saying goes, a parent can say whatever they want to say, but a child is always going to follow their example above everything else. And I thank each of you for standing up today and fighting to continue being that example for your children. But that's all I have, and I'll let